All right, welcome. How we doing? Let's see, mic on. Yep, I think we're good there. How we doing this Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. That's where we're at. Almost Friday, almost the weekend, guys. Hang in there. Sorry I missed last week. A lot of stuff came up. Um, cool. Audio's working. Just double check that. Um, all right, so let's see what we got going on here. Cool, yeah, join the forum. If you're not part of the forum, check us out. We stream every Thursday, 6 p.m. 3D Thursday. We talk about all the cool 3D things, gun related, what's new in the 3D printing world, software, hardware, new files that are dropping, builds that I'm working on. And then I also try to help you guys out as much as I can, build with whatever build questions you guys have. So check us out, 2aallday.com. We got it's free to join. We do have a VIP section for VIPs. We'll do a lot of random giveaways, so we'll give away some gun parts. I think last stream, so 2 weeks ago, we gave away a $50 off gift card for the Ender 3 S1 Plus. So Raymond, hope you got it, man. Hope you're able to figure that out. Yeah, I can't wait to see what you print with it. So other than that, some other cool new things that are going on is we had a merch drop. So we have 2 shirts right now that are designed over at the merch shop. Check us out. The link is right here below. Also, it's in the description. I'm wearing one of the shirts now. Let's see. The screen might mess it up. But essentially, it is the Wheel of Rights. So got the big wheel here. Those colors are green that you can't see. Like here and here's green. So but essentially it just has all of our amendments on it, and it's the Wheel of Rights. Also have 2A All Day logoed shirts, so if you happen to like the logo, you can get that on the front as well. There is no forum branding, it's just the logo. So yeah, go check that out. They're awesome. Who do we got? Pat Michelle, how we doing? Nick, how we doing? Brian, welcome. Welcome, guys. Welcome. So, let's see. What do we got going on here? Yeah, no, 5 watching. Exactly. Where is everyone at? I think we've been chilling at about 5 or 6 now for a while. We need to get some more people in here. So last week we did, not last week, but the week before, we kind of did a entry level touch on Fusion 360. I do want to kind of go into that here in a little bit. We'll kind of pick up where we left off with that. Do you guys have any questions beforehand? I think we're kind of covering everything, so I think we're doing good. I'll probably have one more video in the series just to kind of go a little bit more in depth within Fusion 360, so that way you can actually add, different patterns, different logos. If you want to do a logo, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll put a logo in on something, and that way, we can kind of cross that bridge there. Other than that, thank you guys very much for using the Amazon links over in at the shop. That has definitely helped out hugely, and the links will be down for about 3 or 4 days. I'm working with Amazon right now to try to get them reactivated. Bunch of stuff is going on kind of with those, so they will be back up and going here shortly. But everything that's not Amazon related should still link you over to Creality, or should still link you over to Prusa, as well as the forum discount for Shooter Lube, and still working with a couple other people. So I guess without further ado, let's take a look at the Fusion 360 stuff. Let me find where I kind of put that. Give me 1 second. Alright, so this is where we left off last time. What we did is we extruded our name onto the side of a frame. Some of the topics that we covered was the plane, we covered what that was, we covered what a sketch was, we covered the search function, the extrude function, the text function. We went over your sketches over here. We went over components. Let me delete a couple of these so that way we can start from scratch. And go from there. Cool. So we went over the sketches and the components. If you ever wanted to not see your component, you can always turn it off with the eye function. Just cross the eye out so you don't see it. And if you were to save it like this, that means, or create your STL file from this, the name would not be on there. Whatever components you want to be a part of your final project, make sure that the eye is visible and that you can actually see it on your project. So today we are going to, let's go to the other side, and we're going to do a couple things here. One, I think it's kind of hard to see, so let's change the appearance. You can change the color of whatever you're working on or the appearance. My computer doesn't really like me, so let's just see if, where'd beige go? I saw beige. That would be a good one. Boom, it's beige. Okay, so don't worry about it. This is just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so let's create a couple things. One, we will create a raised grip pad. Then we'll get rid of that, and then we'll do an outline for the grips, and then we'll get rid of that. And then we'll also do an extended outline with a curve in it. And then that'll probably wrap us up for today. That should maybe take about 20-25 minutes. So let's jump right on into it. Remember, everything that we do, there's kind of a process that we want to kind of go through. We want to make sure we're on the solid tab up here. We're in design. Most of the time we are. And before we ever add anything, we always want to create a sketch on the plane that we want. So for example, whenever you go over your object, any of these things that are being highlighted are separate individual planes on different dimensions within inside of your 3D object. So let's create a sketch. It's asking us, hey, what plane do we want? Where do we want this within the three-dimensional space? And since we're going to do a grip module, we want it over here on the handle. So let's go ahead and click that. It's selected it. It likes to rotate it for some reason. I just flip it back. And now let's create a sketch. Let's use this line tool. So when you look up here in your toolbar, you'll notice that a couple different things have happened. We have a bunch of new tools. And remember, we're going to stay within these blue tools. We don't really worry about these other constraints or anything like that right now. Let's just live within these blue tools. Specifically, let's just do the line tool. So the way this tool works is you click it, and it turns itself on. And now it's asking you to lay down your first point. Where do you want your first point? Well, let's say we want our first point to start here. So you just left click one time, and now wherever you draw this out to be, you click again and it's going to create a line. And so let's say also another cool feature that this has is, let's say we want our line that we're making right now to be parallel with this line right here where my cursor is and that blue box is. So what it's doing, I'm just hovering over the line and it's dropping these X's, which means, hey, reference this line when you're creating your line. So now you'll see those two hash marks. That means that those lines are parallel to each other. So I know that it's a straight line and it's parallel to that other line. So that's cool. So let's left click. Boom, and we just created our first line. It dropped a second point. So now what's cool about the line feature is you don't have to go back up and reactivate it. It stays activated until you close it out. Let's say you only wanted to add one line, hit escape to exit out of this at this point. But if you want to keep building onto this, then you keep dropping points. And so if you want to extrude something, the object has to be closed. It has to be a completely closed object. It can't be, there can't be like an opening. So for example, I can't just extrude just this line right now. I have to create a closed object, and I'll show you what that kind of looks like. So now let's finish this off. So we're going to go to the right, and that little blue line, like the three lines above right now, the line I'm creating, that lets me know that it's parallel to the bottom line. So I'll drop that there, and so as I'm going up now, I'm like, oh crap, where do I drop this? If I want it to be equal to the left, how do I do that? Well, you can see there's hash marks on it letting me know it's parallel, but I just don't know the distance. So what you could do, bring it over, hover over the point you want it to be equal to, let it see that little box there, and now you can kind of just come over here and see it automatically creates those blue dots just as a reference point. That's all that is a reference line. So now if I drop this point here, I can see that A, it's parallel going up and down to the line on the left, and B, it is equal to the point that I want to close it off to. So let's drop it and let's go over here and close it. Cool, so we just created a closed object. When it highlights itself like that, that lets you know it's a closed object. So let's go over here and hit finish sketch. Boom. Now we just created a two-dimensional object on a three-dimensional object. And so now to turn this into a grip plate, what we want to do is extrude it out. So remember, hit the S key. That's going to bring up the search function. And now the search function is your best friend. This will, once you grasp that concept and you do your workflow like this, it will just be so easy. It'll be a breeze and everything. Even if you forget how to do something, if you just remember to hit your S key, you can search for whatever you want to do. You just got to know the names of the tools that you want to use. So for example, we want to extrude. So that's an E. So we'll start typing in extrude, and look, it already pops up. Boom. It's going to say, hey, select the face you want to extrude, so we can hover over whatever we want to make come out. Right now we want to use our sketch to extrude that out. So we select it, and for purposes, I'm just going to use 2 millimeters for all the distances on everything I do in here. So let's extrude it out 2 millimeters. And remember, over here under operation, never do join. Do join if you want. I never do join, because sometimes I want to go back and change it, and it's a pain in the butt to change. So what I do is I always do new component. What that's saying is that what we're extruding and creating is just a component of the final project. So it's not the final object, but it's part of the final object. So let's go ahead and hit OK, and boom, you'll see over here it creates a new component. And also, if we were to use our little tool here, we can see that, hey, look, it extruded it out 2 millimeters. So if you like it, cool. If not, hey, you can always say, you know, actually I don't like it, and you can just turn it off. You can delete it if you want, but turning it off is sometimes the best, because you might want to come back and actually turn it back on. So now, looking at it, that looks pretty cool. But let's say these corners might be a little too sharp. Once they're printed, you realize, hey man, those are some sharp corners. They're tearing up my hands. So I kind of want those to be rounded. So what we can do is you can actually change the shape of any individual line if you want. Let's click on these vertical corner lines. So the lines that are coming out, and we can come down here, and you can do one line at a time, or you can do multiple lines. If you're going to do multiple lines, anytime you select a new line, make sure you hold down the control button first and then click the line, and that'll just kind of add it to the selection. So then we can come over here, we can also select this line here, we want that vertical there, so control left click, and you can see they're both highlighted blue, so that tells me that everything is selected right. That's also highlighted blue because we're going to change that, and cool, so left control left click, and now they're all 4 highlighted. So now what I want to do, now that they're all 4 highlighted, is the tool that we want to utilize is called the fillet tool, and it's going to round the edges. So there's a couple ways to get to it. Since it's a common tool, it's listed up here on the bar, it's fillet. You could click it if you want. Really get in the habit of hitting S, brings up the search dialog box, and we want to use fillet. So F-I-L, and it's right there. And again, like I said, you know, I was going to use 2, but I'll do 1 first so you can see the effects of what it's going to do, and then I'll use 2. So if I type 1, you'll see it rounds those corners on all of them, and then if I zoom in a little bit more, and let's get rid of that 1 and let's put in a 2. Look at that, it rounds those corners even more. So we can go ahead and hit OK, and now we can look at it, and look, it's rounded. So now it's not gonna, the corners at least aren't gonna you know, chop up our hands at all. So that's one way of extruding. And you can use that fillet tool on a lot of things. So I'd experiment with that fillet tool, all that you want to do. Let's say, how do I want to do this? Okay, so now let's do an outline. So this is the grip module or the grip panel completely filled in. Now let's say you just want an outline around it. So one way to do it, there's multiple ways to do it. One way to do it, and a very simple and fast way to do it, would be to turn that off. And let's go back to our sketch. So let's turn the eye on the sketch that the drawing that we made. And let's double click over here on the sketch. Let's reopen it back up so we can edit it. Let's reorientate this. And so now this tool is also a really helpful tool here. Let's check out this offset tool. So if we click offset, what that's going to do, that's going to say, hey, select a line you kind of want to offset, create an offset line for. So right now, if we look, this says chain selection. So chain selection means all lines touching each other or touching the line that you're selecting are going to be selected. So in this case, it's okay. Some other advanced circumstances, it's not. You don't want to do this, but for here, we're just going to leave it selected because we just want to make an offset for all of these lines anyways. So we're going to select this, and now what we can do is this is going to essentially draw another box, either a bigger box or a smaller box, just depending on whatever parameters we type in. So for example, if we type in 2, well, it's going to draw those red lines. That's going to create a new larger box around this box, and we can do that. Or let's say we like the size of our current grip panel, but we just want it to become an outline. We can type in -2, and that's now going to go within inside the box that we've already created. So let's do that. Let's stick within here. And so let's finish the sketch. So now you can see when we hover over here, over our sketch, that we have two different things that we can click on. We have this inside box, and now we have this outside frame. And so what we want to do is, if we're looking to create just an outline, let's just click on just the outline frame, and then let's extrude it. So you're going to hit the S key and then type in EXT, start to type in extrude, and then select it that way. Once that becomes second nature to you, you're going to start learning hotkeys. So hotkeys are just a faster way to get the most common tools that you're going to use just to come up. So for example, the hotkey for extrude is E. So you can just hit E and it's automatically going to bring up that extrude setting. It's just a faster way. It'll make your workflow go faster as you get through it. So like I said, let's do just like we did before, the 2 millimeters. And we're going to extrude that out. And then we're going to come down here. We're not going to join it. It's going to be a new component. And then we're going to hit OK. So then we can turn off our sketch because we're done with it. And look, we created just the outline. Just the outline. And so again, what we can do with this is we can do the same thing. So let's say these edges are too much. You can go through. So I left clicked, zoomed out, zoomed in, control, left click, come over, control, left click, zoom out, come back up. Let's turn this so we can see it. Control, left click, and you can do all these individually if you want. It's just faster to kind of do it this way. And once you've done it once or twice, you'll probably select multiple things all at the same time. Plus, it just makes it even. So again, you can hit the search key or hit the S button to bring up the search bar and look for fillet, because that's the tool we're going to use. Or just like extrude with the E as their hotkey, the fillet hotkey is F. So we can type in F. Boom, it brings up the fillet tool right away. And again, we did 2 on the last one, so let's do 2 on this one. You can see it rounds them right away, and we'll hit OK. So now we have just a rounded outline. So and so another cool thing that you can do, let's say you have this outline, but now these edges on the outside are going to be sharp, on the inside and on the outside. So you can either select just the edge, or let's experiment with something. Let's select the whole top face, and let's hit fillet. So let's go to the fillet tool, and let's just say 1 millimeter. Let's see what it does. Whoa, you guys see that? Let's zoom in and see exactly what it did. It just rounded the top edges. So now when it's in the palm of your hand or your support or whatever, it's not going to be super rough, edgy on your hand. It's going to be nice and round. So that's a pretty cool feature that you can do, and you can experiment with that on a lot of things. So we have that rounded. And then I don't know, another tool that you have could be chamfer. So let's look at chamfer. So let's select these outside because this is a pretty sharp edge right in here. So you could do chamfer I'm not sure. I haven't done this yet, so we're going to experience this together. We're going to chamfer that, and let's just say 1 millimeter. Will it even work? No, it gave me an error. So let's adjust the size. Okay, that's not going to work. Adjust the size. Okay, so the size isn't going to work. All right, I'll have to play around with that another time. Chamfer is another. It's kind of like a fillet, but it's different than a fillet. And I'm sure you could probably play with these lines here for a little bit. If you wanted to select just that line and do a fillet, you could. And what would that do? Let's kind of zoom in on that and look. I would have to see. Oh, okay. So that rounds it out like a ball. We don't really want that. We want it more like if it's a wave. And so I think that's where chamfer would come into play. Chamfer. Yeah. So maybe it's the line that I needed to select. Let's see. Oh, that was 1. So let's say -1. Nope, that's not going to work. Huh. Anyways, I'll play around with that. But there are ways to get that to blend a little bit better if you wanted to. But we can go into that another time. This will just kind of get you in with the basics here. And so now let's say, let's actually say, so looking at this, yeah, that's cool and all, but let's say we wanted this to extend up and we actually wanted it to kind of match the curve up here. So what we could do, let's turn this one off. And look, we still have the full one. So we have that one, we have this one. We're creating options that we can mix and match on this thing. Let's go back to our sketch. So let's turn our sketch on. Let's double click it because we're going to change this up just a little bit. And so you'll see we're utilizing the same sketch for multiple things. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so in order to edit the sketch, we can click on just this top line and drag it up a little bit. We want it to be a little bit taller. Well, let's say we want it to go up to there. And then, so now we have to add to it a little bit. So let's get our line tool back out. And whenever we see that square, that means we're dropping it on a previous point. So that's where we want to left click, and let's drag this out to about here, and left click and hit escape. So now we have this open line out here that's not really doing anything for us. Here's another advanced feature. Check this out. Go to create, go down to arc, and we want to make a 3-point arc. So we want to close off this section here. Let's we get that square around our point, so we'll left click. And let's say we want to come down to about here. Wherever you see that like a blue X on a previous line, that means you're dropping your point on a line, which is what we want to do because it's going to eventually close off this object and then we'll be able to extrude. So let's just drop it. And now, remember, it's a 3-point arc. We have 2 points down and now we need to lay a 3rd point. So this 3rd point shows us that it'll control the bend in this arc. So we can go... Let's say we want to do maybe like right here. That's kind of close enough. We can kind of edit it a little bit, but right here is fine for now. We'll do that. And then we'll just hit escape and that'll get us out of there. And we can actually adjust this a little bit by just dragging this point right back a smidge to where we want it. So let's say that looks a little bit better. And we will finish the sketch. So now we've adjusted our sketch to kind of match the curvature a little bit. And now let's extrude all of this. So we can hit the E key or search for extrude. And now it's going to say, hey, let's click on this button here so we can select the profiles that we want. So anything that's going to be highlighted will be selected. So we want to extrude that. We want to do the outline and the hole. So we're going to do this whole thing. Let's extrude it out 2 millimeters, just like we've been doing, and we're going to create another new component. So we're going to hit OK, and let's turn our sketch off because we don't need that right now. So now look at this. Boom. Boom. We got it. Just like before. And so from here, you can do a couple things. If you want to keep it full, you can keep it full. You can fill it the edges. Or let's say you want that outline again. Well, if you want that outline again, check out this tool. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a sketch. So this is another way to do it. We're going to create a sketch. And what we're going to do, we're going to click on this plane here. So this is the extruded this is the top of the extrusion that we just made. So this is a different plane than the grip itself, because it's now three-dimensional. Let's click on the top here. And so that's going to create a plane out there. And what we can do is, so we created that. Let's use the offset tool again. And let's click on this line here. And then let's do -2, because we're going to stay within we want an outline. We're going to do that. We're going to say finish the sketch. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select the inside here and hit the E key. Again, it's going to extrude. You could do search, hit the S key and then type in extrude, or you could come up here and hit the extrude button, but the E key is the fastest way to get there. And now, so we don't want to extrude it more, we want to reduce it. We want to cut that material out and take it away. So we know we extruded out from the frame 2 millimeters, so let's extrude back to the frame, so -2 millimeters. And this is automatically, when you do a negative, it's automatically going to go to cut, which is fine. We want to cut that material out. So then you're going to hit OK, and boom, it just cut that material out. So now you just created an outline of your curved offset grip handle. So now from here, if you wanted to, you could go through and did that a little too fast. Let's say these edges are a little too sharp, so we're going to just go through and fillet them all to make them all rounded, because that round look is pretty cool. So again, control left click on the corner vertical lines. Let's zoom in a little bit, control left, and then we're going to hit the F key to fillet, and we're just going to fillet at 2, and then we're going to hit OK. See, so now you have rounded corners, you have the rounded grip angle up here, and hey, furthermore, we could actually even fillet this. So let's round that off. Let's put a, oh, doesn't like the 1, oh, because the edge. What about a 0.5? It'll do a 0.5, that'll just round it, that'll give it a little bit of an edge. So sometimes when you get an error, you have to adjust the size of your fillet. So I was starting out with 1 and I just changed it to 0.5, and you can see here it left some flat surface on the top and it just rounded the edges just a little bit. So you can see it rounded both the inside edge here and the outside edge here. And so now that's what it looks like. And so from here, you can do a lot of things. This should give you enough basic tools though at this point to kind of customize this how you want. If you wanted to put a gas pedal over here, you can utilize these same tools that I just taught you to create these outlines and those extruded grips on this gas pedal up here using the line tool and extrusion and fillets. If you wanted to create more of a Picatinny rail system over here, you can definitely easily do that by you know, copying this and pasting it over and using the cut tool instead of the extrude tool. You can cut this material out. You can do a double undercut right here if you wanted to, by just drawing using that 3-point arch and drawing a line and then using your cut feature. You can add grips. There's a ton of things you can do with just those simple things that I just taught you. That's how I learned, and I just adapted those things. I was like, hey, what happens if I use this process that I learned over here? What if, can I apply it over to this? And that's how I started to learn. The very next lesson will probably be the last one that I'll kind of go over for this basics, and it'll be about how to import designs and put designs onto here. Other than that, everything else I think I will go over. So I'm also creating a like a how-to 3-dimension, like how to 3D print from beginning to end, so from start to finish, from a brand new person to now getting into Fusion 360, to designing these things, to getting them to your printer, to having your file settings, your printer settings, where to get files. I'm creating a huge 3D printer course that will hopefully be coming out soon. I don't have a ton of time right now to throw at it, but I'm just trying to chip away. So I'll put all these advanced stuff in there. These are just some of the basic things. So next time will probably be the last one that I'm going to do for a tutorial, but it will be to show you how to import a file or a design and then put it inside of here and extrude it out. So that's what we'll go over next time. But this should get you the basics on how to work within Fusion 360. So you've seen we did this. Let's say, hey, actually I don't like that one. You know, I like just that one. Or hey, maybe I didn't like that. I like just the filled in one. You can go down here and now you can literally customize your gun any way you want it. And then if you save this and you can rename these to certain things so they're easy for you to see and add. You can have essentially a blank frame and then just say, oh, well, you know, on this frame, I want the high edge outline. I want a gas pedal, so I'm going to turn that on. I want my undercut here, so I'm going to turn that on. And you can just like customize your gun just through toggle switches now. And you can print anything you want on it. So anyways, hope you guys learned something. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to take a look at the comments now and see if I had any questions I need to go over or that I can answer. So let's head back on over to the main stream and take a look and see what we got going on. My mic was off. I totally saw that. You guys are going to probably blow me up in the chat. Ah, man, I thought I was going to get through at least one stream without having my mic turned off. What I was saying was Fusion. Yeah, I gotcha. Fusion 360 is awesome. It's a heck of a program. If you get in there, it is a little overbearing at first, a little overwhelming. Like, oh, what are all these things? What are all these lines and symbols? And, you know, what is a fillet? Anyways, you get in there and just remember, everything starts with the sketch. You got to start somewhere, and everything starts with a two-dimensional sketch that you're now going to make three-dimensional, whether that be just in space or you're going to make this two-dimensional object on another three-dimensional object. It doesn't matter. It's got to start with a sketch. You got to finish that sketch, close it out, and then you can extrude it and play with it. And that's when, you know, the fun starts to happen and begin. And yeah, so that's Fusion. So next time we will pop a logo on there, and maybe I'll send it over to the printer and go from there. And yeah, do you guys got any questions about Fusion? Anything you want me to kind of go over, touch on again, maybe in the next one? I would say that 2 millimeters is a lot of extrusion off of your frame. So I wouldn't go 2 millimeters. I would go maybe like 1 millimeter, unless you're doing something that when you go to slice it, your slicer will tell you right then and there, based off your slicer settings, you know what it's going to look like. So I save the file. And again, that's why I do a lot of component stuff too, is because sometimes what I think looks good in Fusion, once I put it in an STL, send it over to the slicer, slice it with my slicer settings, sometimes it's not as detailed as I want it to be, or yeah, essentially it's just not as detailed. So then what I'll do, I'll go back over to Fusion and I'll extrude it out just a little bit more. Or I'll make the text, you know, instead of 2 millimeters big, I'll make the text 5 millimeters big, or just a little bit bigger, just to make it that much more clear. Because, you know, 3D printing is essentially like taking a hot glue gun and putting it on a CNC machine. And, you know, it's in a nutshell, that's pretty much what it is. So the details aren't necessarily the best. So yeah, that again, that's Fusion, and you know, you got to start somewhere. So go download it. It's free. Sign up for that free account, and you know, just start. What I actually have now done, so that was a FMDA DD 17.2 frame. I've actually, because I'm Rails Down Gang for life, I've stopped using that particular frame because it has those two posts where the locking block sits up against. I think the locking block sits up against those. Anyways, it has those two posts, and sometimes they get all funky. It really just depends on the filament that I'm using. So I've switched over to the PY2A stuff. Plus, when when stuff hits the fan, PY2A, I was looking, they have jigs to make your own rails even. So you can literally go buy a flat piece of steel or flat piece of aluminum, and they have jigs that you can print out. They have templates you print out and jigs you print out to where you can now make your own rails for your own 3D printed file, like guns that you're printing. So I don't know. Not that I have the time to really sit there and actually take a flat piece of steel right now, trace out the template, get a jig, put it in the jig, pound out the rails, bend the rails, however you want to do it. I don't, but eventually sometime I would like to do that, because then I can say, hey, I literally made this whole thing from scratch. And I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. And again, I just think it's a good fail-safe to have, to be able to kind of do that. So I have switched over now from using the FMDA over to the PY2A. Hey, have you made the PY2A rails yet? I did watch a couple people on YouTube, and I think I saw a couple people on Reddit. Just using like some grinders and some nitty gritty stuff. That's kind of what kind of turned me on to it. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. Like, maybe it's not, first time quality, but it'll go bang. It'll go bang. But the cool thing is we can make it first time quality, so that's what's pretty cool about it. And yeah, the rail's just sheet metal. Yeah, I ordered a couple sets from him here, and I can tell they're, you can bend them, and they're not super sturdy, but again, the frame is great. I'll have to show you guys. I redid the Bandit frame, so it was originally on a FMDA style chassis, and it was cool. And I have everything to complete the build. I haven't just had the time to do the build. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to actually take my Fusion 360 skills, and this was right around the same time I announced that I wanted to do this kind of tutoring course. I was like, hey, I want to take these skills, and at this point, it was probably my 6th or 7th custom frame that I was building, and I found myself redoing the same thing over and over. Like, I'd redo the grip panel on all 7 frames, but I'd do it the same similar, or I'd redo the same gas pedal or the same undercut. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this than having to do this every single time. And so that's when I started learning about and experimenting with the component section, and now creating like a blank template, but my version of the blank template. So I took the PY2A, their frame, and now I've created my own blank template that I can now quickly customize. Like, hey, kind of like how Chairman Juan did, where it was like, hey, you know what? If you want the big coral stipple versus the standard stipple, it's the same frame, just a different stipple. So that's essentially what I did. Is I just created my version of like the Strike 80, but on the PY2A 17 platform. So I'll show that to you guys probably next time or the time after. It depends, man. This weekend's going to be super slammed. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Yeah, so it's going to be super busy. I don't know if I'm going to have time to complete any builds this weekend. I do have 2 that I really want to complete. I really want to complete the Bandit one now that I got all the pieces from that. And I also still have the Round Robin Strike 80 Gledhill Customs and Steel City MGB slide custom package stuff. I won the frame from Round Robin, and then I got all the other parts to make a custom MGB strike. So I do want to put that together. That'll probably be my first and only strike that I do. I have all the other strike frames, but I'm just holding on to them. And yeah, so that enough of me talking. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Again, head on over to the forum. Also Discord. So I dropped a new Discord link at the bottom there. I think I got 2 or 3 people. I want to say Sprink and Raymond. I think you guys kind of came over and we chatted it up for a little bit. But I'm always on that 24/7. So if you ever have any questions, like if you're doing Fusion and you're like, dude, what was that thing again? Or how do I do this? Or what was the process? Hit me up on Discord. And I can normally respond pretty fast to that. Secondly, I'll check the 2A form you know, a couple times a week here or there. It's not super active, so I'm not on that a lot. And then maybe once a week or so, maybe twice a week, I'll go over and I'll check the PGB stuff. So see what's kind of going on over there and if I can help out at all or what we should talk about here. You know what? Thinking about it, let me check. I think actually Raymond wanted me to touch on a couple things for 3D printing. Hold on, I'm just looking really quick. What were some of the things? So I want to say, oh, here we go. Here were some of his questions. Just added a bunch of stuff. What type of filament am I using? So I'm using the Polymaker PLA Pro. It's Polylite. It's made by Polymaker. Their version of it's Polylite PLA Pro. It comes in a bunch of different colors. It is awesome to use. I definitely like it. It prints smooth and it has good layer adhesion, good bed adhesion, good details too. So I print with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, and I typically point at a resolution of, I think Prusa does 1.5, not 1.6, but 1.5, but I do the detail version. I don't do 0.2. I do the one right below that. And I've taken their standard setting for my printer and I've tweaked it just a little bit. So that's the filament that I use. Let's see, do you use the same type for both frame parts and non-frame parts? Yeah, I use that stuff for everything. You know, I find it super easy once you have a filament and a filament brand that you like, the settings, so you don't necessarily have to print like a temp tower every time or a retraction tower every time. You don't have to fine tune your filament every single time you want to print something or every time you get a new filament if you're running the same stuff all the time. So like what I've come to realize is with the Polylite PLA Pro stuff, it likes to run hot. So, you know, a lot of people said, hey, 230C, and you know, you won't have any problems. Okay, cool. Yeah, you did too. Awesome. So I started doing 230. It loved it. I did a temp tower for probably 4 of the different colors, and it all came out the same. The temp towers were the same on all of the colors. So, because sometimes you'll get like white will print different than black will print. It'll just like a little bit of a different temperature. So, but now I've actually even dropped it down to 225 and they're still doing great. They're still fantastic prints. And yes, I do use the same filament for everything. It's cheap enough to use it for everything. So, you know, I'm not really using it for anything that I need to worry about, like leaving it in a car for, or things like that, where I should step it up to a different or more exotic filament. So yeah, I use the same filament for most things. And what else? Let's see. Just filament brand is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. Just read the reviews. That's, you know, read the reviews. I've watched a lot of Hoffman Tactical. He does a lot of his, he'll do a lot of tests with them. So tensile strength tests, and a lot of other tests. Also, I mean, print, shoot, repeat. He uses a lot of different filaments. You know, I kind of got turned on to Atomic brand filament from him. Yeah, I didn't really care for Atomic a whole lot. Some people love it and swear by it. For me, yeah, it was just meh. Maybe I just sucked at printing at the time. I don't know, but it wasn't as good as the Polylite PLA Pro for me. So again, I think it's for everybody, and everybody's printer and setup is different. So remember that. Let's see what else. What was the nozzle upgrade you added? I added the E3D Revo V6. So Prusas come standard with the E3D V6, and so it was just a drop-in replacement. I didn't have to print anything new, but it does come with, if you go on E3D's website, it does come with whatever you need for whatever printer you're putting it on, and it is fantastic. I love that nozzle. I wish that nozzle was on every printer. It is amazing. Also, the new Bamboo Labs printer is similar, just different. It's all a one piece, like nozzle and heat break in one, and you just replace that. It has 2 screws on it, and you unscrew those and come off, and you put the new one on. So it's all one piece, which is very similar to the Revo. The Revo is awesome. It's cold change, so you know, I literally take my fingers up there. I don't use any tools. The printer doesn't have to be heated up, nothing. I just go up there, unscrew it really quick, boom. pop in a new nozzle if you need to. So, or if like you get a nozzle clog halfway through your prints, I think I told this story a while ago, but halfway through one of my prints, I had a nozzle clog. So it came up, I let the nozzle drop temp for a minute, cool down just enough for me to touch it. Boom, unscrewed that nozzle, popped on a different nozzle with my bare hand, heated it right back up and started the print again, and it finished flawlessly. So the E3D Revo V6 is awesome. They only have brass nozzles right now. They are dropping. They actually have the Obsidian X nozzle, but it's just not released yet. So they did just do an auction for it for one of the founders who had passed away. They were doing a fundraiser for him, and that was one of the items you could bid on was those hardened nozzles, and you could be one of the first people to get them. So they do have them. I believe they are made. They just haven't released them yet. So something to be aware of. If you're printing with like ABS or polycarbonate or something, you're going to need a hardened nozzle. It'll tear through the brass. So, but it doesn't sound like you're doing that right now. So brass is fine. I use brass until those nozzles come out. Then I'll switch over to those. Let's see. So you ordered the glass bed. Cool. That's cool. I would do the glass bed. Or you ordered an enclosure. Enclosures are awesome. Love it. Are you doing the lac? Do you guys do the lac table enclosures? Or do you guys do different enclosures? I'm curious to know what you guys do. Do you guys even have enclosures? I did the lac enclosure, and I just ordered my side stuff off, I think Amazon or something, and it went together pretty good. Other than that, with Crealities, especially the Ender 3 V2, I would do that 4.2.7 upgrade for your motherboard there. The 422 has a tendency to overheat some of the steppers, and that'll create some weird either layer skipping or layer just issues with your layer, or even ringing. It just created some stuff for me. I got my E3 or my Ender 3 V2 off Amazon. It came with the 422 board. I reached out to the seller, said, hey, this came with the 422 board. You know, I'm having these issues. Can you send me out the 427? They sent me out the 427 free of charge. So I replaced the board. It was kind of a pain in the butt, but I learned the printer more. So, and ever since then, I didn't have any more problems with layering issues or skipping, or like the offsetting of the layers and stuff. So, that was definitely a huge help. Yeah, Michelle, do you know if you have on your Enders, do you have the 427 board, or do you have the 422, or do you even have a different board? Curious to know about that. Couple more questions. Yeah, I just want to touch on them really quick because I said I would. The BL Touch is awesome. So I love the BL Touch. Again, once you get so it'll show you on your screen. It'll show you, I believe, like kind of a color-coded where your bed's at, and it'll also give you some numbers on how to tweak it and make it better level. Once you get, I know I'm going to tell you about this because I know you're going to get a Raspberry Pi, and I think you're going to do Octoprint. But once you do that, Octoprint actually has a bed visualizer plugin that'll show you like a heat map of your bed. And so that'll really help you dial it in. And I would also recommend, so with the BL Touch, doing, what was it, the 7x7 or the 9x9? Whatever the most touches you can do is what I would kind of recommend. With the BL Touch, it will take a little longer because it's got to go down and it touches it twice and goes over. It takes a little bit of time, but it is worth it. Prusa's use the Super Pinda, and it goes super fast. It literally just goes boop, 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 boop. So I have it on, I think 7x7 with mine currently right now. So you got the 422, but it runs okay. Hey, that's perfect. Not all 422 boards cause problems. So if you're not noticing anything, I think you're golden. If you do run into a problem though, that you're like, my printer's super fine-tuned, there's nothing wrong with this. This is happening with multiple filaments, or your stepper feels super hot and you're getting these weird layer shifts. That is something that I would maybe look into, and that should solve that problem. So good, I'm glad. That's awesome. Let's see. So BL Touch. The runout sensor, I never had a runout sensor. I was gonna do that because with the BL Touch, you get you can essentially take off your Z end stop, and you can use your Z end stop as a filament sensor. I was getting ready to do that when I just decided to say, you know what, I'm done with my Ender, and I got a Prusa, and then the Prusa came with a filament runout sensor, so I didn't have to worry about that. So okay, yep. Yep, I would definitely get that all metal extruder too, because that plastic will break. That was one of the first upgrades I did. And another thing I think that we didn't talk about on either of those was the springs too. So if you get those orange springs, I think they're a little bit stiffer of a spring. It'll help your bed hold its level longer, so that way you don't gotta adjust it as much all the time. You order split PLA, must have upgrades, plan on adding Raspberry Pi. Sorry for blasting all these questions. Cool. I think I answered all your questions, and we are going on a long time. Where's the duration? What are we at? Almost an hour. So I'm going to cut it off here. Again, and that was through Discord. So I think he also posted that on the forum as well. Again, if you don't know where the forum's at, I'm sure everybody here does, but there's the forum. Go join it. And then again, Discord link is in the description. Come join us over there. We post memes, ask questions, and we have a good time. So that's always fun. And then we will see you next time. And to round out next time, I think since it'll be the final Fusion 360, at least for now, maybe we'll do a giveaway. I have quite a few G43 trigger housings in stock. I don't know if you guys need any of those. But I will probably do a giveaway for one of those. I know quite a few vendors have been dropping them a lot lately, so I was able to pick up some. So I do have a couple of those. Other than that, guys, thanks again for tuning in and hanging out, and I will see you next week on the tripod.